Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for MSN and DNP Information Session. We hope that you will find this information helpful and we will be able to get your questions answered tonight. I would like to highlight a couple of housekeeping items for us tonight. This session is being recorded and we will send out the link of the recording as soon as it becomes available, along with a copy of the PowerPoint handout that we'll be using tonight. Also, at any time, if you have any questions, you can type in your questions in the chat box or simply wait at the end of the presentation, towards the end of the presentation. If you do type in your questions in the chat, please make sure that your questions are directed to everyone. That way, my colleagues and I are able to see your questions and respond to them if we have time, and also either in the chat or towards the Q&A section here. So to begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Melanie Philadesa. I am the program director for the MSN and DNP programs at Mount St. Joseph University. MSJ, we lovingly refer to it sometimes as the Mount. So you will hear us use the word the Mount. So joining me tonight are three of my colleagues. We have Dr. Kristen Cofane, Assistant Dean and Chairperson of the Department of Nursing, Eric Palmer, our Graduate Admission Counselor, and last but not least is one of our esteemed professors at the Department of Nursing, Dr. Sandra Curtis. You will hear from all of them in just a few minutes, but I would like to say thank you to each one of them for being here tonight and for helping plan this information session. So this is the outline of our time together tonight. Aside from providing you with the overview of our MSN and DNP programs and the application process, we will also cover information regarding the Nurse Faculty Loan Program, or the NFLP. And at the end, we will want to provide you with plenty of time to ask your questions. So to start, let me give you a little bit of information about the Mount. We are old. We were founded in 1920 by the Sisters of Charity. So that makes us a little over 100 years. And it started out as an all-girls school, but nursing was one of the first programs that was offered then. So nursing really has a legacy here at the Mount as well as in the community, and is one of the most populated departments in the university. In case you're wondering, the school eventually became co-ed in 1986. A couple of other things that I would like to mention too. We are recognized by the U.S. News and World Report as one of the best grad schools in the country. We are CCNA accredited, and we have 100% retention rate for our MSN students and 80% for our DNP students. Just as an FYI, aside from MSN and DNP programs, we also have two other pre-licensure programs. One is the traditional BSN, which is a 4-year program. And the other one is the direct entry to pre-licensure MSN that we call this MSN Magellan program. Our graduates, both from undergrad and programs, are known to have strong leadership skills and ethics and have high likelihood of pursuing and obtaining leadership positions in their workplaces. Some things that our grads say about us is, by far, we have excellent student support services. And just to mention a couple of those services, the two that are by far the most utilized services by our graduate students are the Writing Center and the Library Services. The staff can meet students virtually or in person, depending on their preference, and they're able to, they could help you locate articles, they could help you with your writing, proofreading, formatting of papers, something along those lines. Another thing that our grads say is that our staff and our faculty at the Mount are truly invested in the success of the students, and we are truly eager to help you to be successful along the way. All right, so the format of our programs, so that's for both MSN and DNP. We have designed those programs with a working professional in our minds. These are part-time programs that can be completed online in 6 semesters. Students enroll in 2 10-week courses per semester with summers off, which is very nice, and a nice break between Thanksgiving and around 1st to 2nd week of February. Along with interactive online environment, depending on the courses, we have 1 to 2 synchronous meetings per semester. And synchronous simply means that you meet with your professor in real time typically via Zoom. Each meeting is about 2 hours. Usually it's in the late afternoon, evening time, usually from 4 to 6 in the afternoon or in evening, or 6:30 to 8:30. So let's say if you're taking 2 classes, you may meet with one class from 4 to 6 and then another one at 6:30 to 8:30. So we try to schedule those in the same day. That way you don't have to block 2 days in a row for a couple of hours. Our classes are typically small, and we follow what we call as a cohort model, which allows you to know one another throughout the program. So you will be with the same students on almost every class. And what we found is that model helps build relationships among students, which kind of helps that support and facilitating success. The MSN program director, which is me, registers you for all your courses and all your classes, and I will do that approximately halfway through the semester prior. So that eliminates the burden on you having to go into our website and search for your classes and register for each class yourself. So I'll do that for you, and then I'll send you all the dates and times of your classes, and then also the list of course materials. And that's going to be sent to your MSJ email and also your personal email. And I think the last piece that I would like to highlight in this slide is that 4 of your MSN courses count towards your DNP. So if you decide to complete your MSN with us, 4 of those courses would count towards your DNP, making your DNP shorter. It's only going to be 4 semesters instead of the 6. We also do or perform individualized evaluation of your transcripts from previous schools or school, and we do allow up to 9 transfer credits. All right, so I'm going to talk about the admission criteria for our education and administration track. So these are the admission criteria for our MSN program. So either that would be education or administration. So you need to have a BSN degree or an entry-level MSN, just like for instance, our MSN Magellan program. So from any regionally accredited university. You need to have a 3.0 GPA as letter C grade or higher for your statistics, a minimum of 1 year professional work experience as a nurse, and an active unrestricted license, U.S. license. So it's pretty standard admission criteria. So as I have mentioned, we have 2 tracks for our MSN. First, we have the administration track, which could potentially open exciting leadership doors for exciting leadership opportunities upon graduation. And our program provides you with the knowledge and the skills and confidence to do just that. And on this slide, I apologize as the letters are really small, but this is just a representation of an outline of the courses under each semester for the administration track. And for our education track, it emphasizes on the development of your expertise in teaching, and that is not just teaching in the academic setting, but also in the clinical and practice settings. So again, in this slide, they're small, so I apologize, the letters are hard to read, but this is just an outline of the courses again under each semester for the administration track. And I think that's the end of my slides. I will turn it over to Dr. Clefane for the next slides. Dr. Clefane?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jezza, for that wonderful introduction and getting us started here. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and advance the slide. So for our DNP, we have health systems leadership focus. And the admission criteria looks very similar to the MSN, just a few differences here. So our DNP students will have a Master's of Science in Nursing post-licensure from a regionally accredited college or university. We also accept other applicants with a BSN and then a master's degree from a regionally accredited college or university in a related field. So perhaps a nurse who has her BSN or a nurse who has his BSN plus a MBA or a master's in healthcare administration, something along those lines. We've also admitted just recently who just graduated a nurse with his BSN, and then he had his master's in education. And then you could also have a pre-licensure MSN with a postmaster's APRN certification. So midwife, CNS, CRNA, or a nurse practitioner. minimum graduate GPA of 3.0, a C or higher in an undergraduate or graduate statistics course, 1 year of professional work experience, and then an active US RN license with no restrictions. If you're unsure, if you don't have copies of your unofficial transcripts, or if you're unsure if you are at that 3.0, I still encourage you to apply. There are a few other pieces of the admission materials that are not listed here that you would find as you go into the link and begin applying. And Eric Baumel will actually be talking about some of those things. So we do look at all of your admission materials. So please, even if you do not believe that you're at the 3.0, I strongly encourage you to still apply. And we do certainly look at the whole host of things that you do submit when you complete your application. Our DNP is a total of 36 credit hours. Of course, if you have already completed your master's degree with the amount, then that will bring it from 6 semesters to 4 semesters. So you've already taken care of 4 of your courses. Again, we do certainly do a thorough analysis of your transcripts. And at that time, we will transfer into up to 9 credits. So that means that we may be able to remove 3 of the courses and still allow for you to get that DNP. And then at that point, what we typically do is talk with you, and really the same goes for your MSN as well. If you've started an MSN somewhere else, maybe it was years ago, maybe you're in one now. Either way, we do look at all of your transcripts and see how we can best benefit you so that you are able to get to that degree in a shorter amount of time, or at least at the pace that works for you. So once we transfer in some credits, then we will work with you to determine what the best program model looks like for you. So that might be the way that it's laid out here, or that might be doing a fall semester 1 course, spring semester 2 courses, fall semester 2 courses. Then you want to go back to 1. So really, we are flexible in that manner. The courses that you do see listed here, they are at this time only offered during those semesters that you're seeing. So all of the fall courses are offered every fall. The spring courses are offered every spring. And then, as Dr. Deza stated, you are off during the winter months, and you're also off in the summer. We do have a nurse faculty loan program. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the NFLP, this is a HRSA grant that is available to schools of nursing throughout the U.S. And the goal of the nurse faculty loan program is to increase the number of qualified nurse faculty. So just like all realms of nursing, we do have a nursing faculty shortage. And when we say a nursing faculty shortage, it's all the way from, a clinical instructor working 1 clinical rotation per year up through working full-time nurse faculty like Dr. Curtis, Dr. Deza, and I working full-time. But the benefit of the nurse faculty loan program is that the way that you pay it back is 4 years after you graduate, you can work as a part-time nurse faculty member or full-time. So there are some options. I personally did the nurse faculty loan program myself, as did Dr. Deza. So I think that's really helpful so that we're able to explain to you, our firsthand experience. For me, I would say that it was absolutely worth it. So I am completed with my 4 years afterwards, and I've had 85% of the original amount that I borrowed forgiven, and I owe 15%. And I probably should have gone ahead and paid that by now. But as you know, we're on that deferment. So I'll pay it when it comes time. So for that, we have been applying for the grant since 2015, and we've been receiving it since 2015. So that does say a lot when you're continually awarded consecutively every time you apply for a national grant. The maximum amount of funding per student is up to $40,000 a year. That certainly well exceeds the amount that our program costs. That's actually more than the entire program. So there's no way that you would go over that or come close. So after graduation, up to 85% of that total amount that you borrowed, and that could be the entire program if you wish, it will cover that, or it could be a portion of the program if you wish. So 85% of that total amount that you borrowed is then forgiven over a 4-year consecutive period. So at the end of year 1, you turn in your paperwork saying that you've met the stipulations. The stipulation is that you need to work as a part-time or full-time nurse faculty. Essentially, HRSA has 4 different definitions of of that full-time nurse faculty. And those 4 definitions are below. So the 4 different options that could work for you. So what happens is at the end of year 1, you turn in essentially 3 pieces of paper. So one is your employment verification form showing that you have met one of these 4 options. The second option, or the second piece of paper, is your deferment saying, I'm still working on my 4 years. I don't owe anything right now. Bonus, no interest accrues during those 4 years. And then the third piece of paper is asking for the forgiveness. So you will have 20% forgiven after your first year, 20% the second, third, another 20, and then your 4th year, 25% comes off. So then you have your 15% left that you owe. And with that 15%, you can choose how you want to pay it. If you want to do it in full or make payments, that is up to you. So we have the 4 options here. One is the full-time nurse faculty, as I've mentioned. So similar to Dr. Curtis, Dr. Deza, and I, what we're doing now, we do work full-time for the Mount. You could also do a part-time faculty position plus another part-time faculty position. And we don't have a minimum number of hours there. So we get lots of questions about that. Do I have to work, a minimum of a certain number of hours, every 6 weeks, like you would in the hospital, perhaps in like a PRN job? That's not the case. So how we define one part-time position is 1 adjunct contract a year. So we do our adjunct contracts per semester. Not every school does. Some schools break those contracts or do a yearly contract for an adjunct faculty member. That would work as well. So there's lots of different ways that you could do that. But essentially you would have 2 adjunct faculty contracts per year to meet that second box there. The third box is you have 1 part-time faculty position, so 1 adjunct contract a year, plus a clinical educator position. So there are a couple job titles that HRSA includes in the administrative guidelines for NFLP, and that is like clinical educator, clinical preceptor. There's nothing holding us to only allowing for you to do one of those 2 positions. Those are just examples. So we could have put an IE, clinical educator, clinical preceptor there. In all of the webinars with HRSA and talking with them, essentially you are sending your forms to Mount St. Joseph University, or really through a third party. They're called University Accounting Services, but Mount St. Joseph University is the one that has the authority to review your forms and approve them. So where we are with that, I'm the NFLP program director. So in that respect, I'm able to make those decisions. So as I see the forms, if you are working as a nurse in a full-time or part-time capacity in any role in nursing, because I believe that all nurses in some form or fashion are doing some educating, right? Either educating other nurses, educating parts of the care team, educating patients, we could go on forever. Plus 1 part-time faculty position. So 1 adjunct contract a year would fulfill that third box. The 4th option there is a full-time APRN preceptor who has a designated faculty position. So that would be your academic practice, partnership type position where you do have a role within the hospital or healthcare organization, plus a portion of that is also teaching. And next I will have Eric Balmer, our graduate admission counselor.
Hi, everybody. The admission process is not too strenuous at all. We try to make it as easy as possible. You go, as you can see, to msj.edu/apply, and you have to send us official transcripts, and those you send directly to Mount St. Joseph University. That's very important. I've had people they accidentally send it to themselves, and we cannot accept that. It has to go directly to us at the university. Next, you have to do a 1 to 2 page essay. So this involves reasons of why you'd like to, this is for the master's of science in nursing, by the way, the MSN. I'll get to the DNP in a second. Why you want to pursue this degree, including what specific professional goals that you have. We just want to see that the reasons. We want to see your personality and what drives you to pursue this degree. And we really want to see what makes you unique and just what your experiences have led you to this decision and where you envision yourself using this degree. And then included in that, discuss those topics of interest that you would have for the MSN projects that you would have to do. Obviously things can change, but we want to see kind of where your head is at, what you would want to do with this degree, and then a professional resume. And we also need you to do 2 professional references, and they'll get a form. We just need their name and their emails, and it sends a form to them that they fill out and send back to us. And then this, most of you won't have to deal with this, is a TOEFL score for international students. It's just an English language evaluation for those who may need it. But most of the students, we take it case by case, and most students, even if they are foreign or international, we can tell by emailing, by talking with them, if you would need it. Most of the time, we don't. And then there is an admission fee. However, since you all have joined this Zoom, we will waive those until, if you apply, this is important, if you apply by July 15th. Actually, in the process of switching the software, we used to be on Slate. It's an admission software. Now we're moving to NursingCast, and there's not an ability for us to waive those application fees in NursingCast. But if you apply on our website by July 15th, we will waive the application fee of $50. And then you can go to the next slide. Pretty much the same deal with the DNP. The application process is pretty similar. Obviously, it's going to be directed towards your essay, is going to be directed towards why you would want to pursue the DNP and kind of the DNP project, what topics of interest that you would have for that. But other than that, it's all basically the same thing, the same application process for the DNP. We try to make it pretty simple and straightforward. You have also admission fee, application fee of $50. However, like with the MSN, if you apply by July 15th, we will waive that fee. One more thing I was going to say. Oh, yes. So like Melanie said, I am the graduate admission counselor for the MSN and DNP. My contact information is in this presentation, and you can please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions about the process, if you're having any trouble with the application system, or if you just have a specific question with regards to your own personal application. I would be more than happy to talk with you about that, either email, phone call, whatever is most convenient for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Sandra Curtis, and I'm one of the faculty members primarily in the MSN and DNP program. So thank you all for coming out tonight and taking this time to share with us. And hopefully you'll hear something that makes you want to come and be a part of our wonderful school. And I'll call it our wonderful school because I have the unique experience of having graduated from the Mount back in I call it the dark days, with my undergraduate degree. So in my mind, for a graduate of a nursing program to return, especially undergraduate, to return to the same college to teach there in different programs says something about the school. I had a wonderful experience as an undergraduate, and teaching here in the MSN and DNP program, I see the caliber of students that are turned out, and it's no different than what it was in the BSN program. So we are very student-friendly, learner-friendly. We do recognize that you all are adults. I completed my master's and PhD as an adult student after my children finished college. So I understand the balance, trying to find the balance between working, taking care of your family, and then going to school. And we're very aware of that. So we do try to make sure that we listen to your concerns and help you to meet your demands and your goals. And, realize you are a human being. So I hope you do consider us very seriously. We would love to have you on board. And we will take care of you and help you as much as we possibly can. And I do believe you'll find this to be a great learning experience, both personally, and it will help you advance professionally. So look forward to meeting you. Come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis. That was really nice. I don't see any questions in the chat, so would just like to go ahead and open the microphone up for anyone who would like to unmute themselves and ask questions.
Hello, I am Jason, and thank you for a great presentation. And I'm just so excited to start this fall. And I just want to give a shout out to Christine, who helped me out with, my application and I was actually surprised that within, I think, less than a month, we were able to take care of, all my transfers and everything. So I was just amazed. I realized that
Absolutely.
now I'm accepted. I'm starting in the fall. I just want to share that. And I'm just amazed how the process just really went very smoothly with my transfer credits and everything. So I appreciate that. I just have one quick question. I know I keep on, reading the hub, accessing the hub and emails and stuff like that. When is the virtual orientation for the DNP? I'm just planning ahead in terms of my schedule. I just don't want to miss it.
Sure. Great question. That is August 30th.
August
30th. Yes. 5 to 7:30. And that'll be on Zoom.
Okay. 5 to 7:30. Okay.
Yeah. So we should get some information sent out about that during July.
Yep. Okay. That's great. No, I just want to say hi, Christine. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'm so glad that you came on. That's great. And I appreciate, that comment about, I think that is part of the beauty of the Mount is that we are small enough that we are able to do that. And there's not, as many steps to go through. I think anytime that you, apply to a school, there's always going to be some steps. So
Right.
be prepared for that. Right. But I do think, and I say this from a student perspective and a faculty perspective, because I've been a student myself, obviously, multiple times. So there are at larger schools, you tend to have more steps that you have to go through. So, and that means that there's going to be more time. So I do think at the Mount, the people that you have on the call right now are the program director of the MSN and DNP. You have a faculty member, you have your admission counselor who's going to see your application first. And then I'm the assistant dean and chair of nursing. So I think that speaks to who we are and how much we care about our students' success and how much we care about nursing as a profession and the Mount. We believe in the product that we are providing to you, and we believe in the student that is then produced, from that program. So thanks so much. And I do appreciate you being on tonight.
I still don't see any questions in the chat. So if anyone just want to unmute themselves and ask those questions, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, if anyone's willing to share, I would love to know which program you're interested in, or if there is anything in particular that you might be looking for, or anything that we've presented tonight that you would like to know more about. I know sometimes the synchronous meetings do tend to be some of the questions that we get asked. So it is a little bit of a different model compared to some of your traditional online programs where you go on, you do your discussion board, and then you don't get back on for a week, or you send your professor an email and you wait for them to respond to you, which may happen in the next day or so, or it might happen a week from now. So we do have policies on all of that at the Mount, how quickly those responses need to happen. But I will say that those synchronous meetings, because they happen in real time, there's not very many of them, but it does tend to help clean up some of those questions that you might have as soon as you jump into a course and you see the syllabus and you want to get in your calendar and figure out how you're going to get through the course along with working and along with kids or whatever else you might have going on in your life. So the synchronous meeting's nice because you get your answers to your questions in real time and you have your professor live for essentially 2 hours. And the point of it is really that it's more student support. It's not like you're going to get on and, hear a long lecture or something along those lines. We have all of that recorded like a traditional online program, but the synchronous meetings are more a chance for us to get to know you, to feel comfortable contacting us and to get your questions answered in real time, really. But I would love to know what programs everyone's interested in. If anyone doesn't mind unmuting themselves and throwing it out there. I'm going to open up the chat and I see a question. So Meryl asked, she said she's unable to unmute, but for the NFLP, if students are eligible for up to $40K a year and 85% is forgiven, is that 85% of whatever was borrowed? Yes. So we do have students that let's, say, for example, a student gets tuition reimbursement, but their tuition reimbursement is only $5,000 per calendar year. And because of that, it actually takes you, typically in our program, you won't really go over until like your third semester of that 5,000 for tuition reimbursement. So maybe you want to use that first, but that's up to you. So if you want to use that first, then you would use your tuition reimbursement. You don't even sign any NFLP papers at that point. And then when you get to the point where your tuition reimbursement has ran out, you want to use NFLP for 2 classes, and then you can choose to come back out of it and do tuition reimbursement again. So everyone does something a little bit different. Some people choose to borrow enough to cover the entire MSN or DNP program. So we do have flyers that have the total program cost, and Dr. Deza will send those out so that everyone's aware of what the total program cost is. I would say that we're extremely competitive when you do compare us to some of the other programs that are out there for your MSN Education Administration or your DNP program. And it also depends on what area of the country you're in. There are certainly programs that are 3 or 4 times higher than we are. So everyone really kind of chooses, how much they want to borrow there. It doesn't have to necessarily be the entire amount. And hopefully that helps. And yes, it does then forgive 85% of whatever was borrowed.
I have attached the flyer with a program fee or the total cost for the program. So it's in the chat if anybody is interested in pulling that up for their own information.
Yes. So Meryl asked if a clinical education specialist within a healthcare facility fulfills the NFLP requirement, essentially an ICU nurse educator for several departments. Yeah. So yes, that would fulfill it. The one thing that you would need to pair it with is 1 adjunct faculty contract per year. So that adjunct faculty contract can be a whole host of things. So it could be you teaching 1 online nursing class. It could be you teaching 1 clinical rotation. It could be you working with a school of nursing and being the faculty advisor for students that are in their role transition. So at the Mount, we call that a faculty advisor. In a nutshell, it is the person that goes to the hospital to check on the student 3 times a semester, sometimes via phone. It just depends on your schedule. And that's really the brunt of it, is to make sure the student is doing what they're supposed to do and that they're having a successful role transition. But for that is a paid position for us. So that would be the one thing you'd have to add on to that, Meryl, would be that you would continue to work, if you so wish, as a clinical education specialist, plus that 1 adjunct contract per calendar year. No problem. And that position can be with any accredited school of nursing. So in the US. So it does not have to be with the Mount, but we do help our students out that have taken the NFLP, because of course we want to continue to get the NFLP and offer it to students like you. So if you are wanting to work for us, whether it's in an online capacity or as a faculty advisor, as I just mentioned, you would certainly, we encourage you to reach out to us, and we'll do everything we can to get you that adjunct contract, because we want you to be able to fulfill the NFLP obligation.
They might not have any questions, but I do. Where are you all from? Where are you all located at currently? Because we all tend to get students from different places, different states. It's just interesting to see where everybody is.
I live in San Francisco, California.
Nice. Nice.
So we have Northern Kentucky, Merrill, we have West Virginia, we have Minnesota. Nice.
Welcome. I love seeing the variety of where everyone is from.
And we have our local folks. We have Chris and Keith and Stephanie. It's a little stormy tonight. I was a little worried about my internet. Blew me out.
So Yvonne is asking about, can you please go over the program time and format? So she said she heard 4 to 6. So that might be helpful. Yeah, let's go back. So the MSN and the DNP, if you don't mind, just because you mentioned your internet, Melanie, I'll go ahead. I suppose, just to throw it out there. So the MSN and DNP programs are essentially the same exact format. And that's because while you're in your MSN, you get 4 DNP courses. So in that regard, when you're moving from your MSN to DNP with us, you get exactly what you got during your MSN program, essentially, except of course, we're teaching to the DNP essentials and not only the MSN essentials. So that's from AACN, our accreditors. So with the program, you've got 6 semesters, so 3 falls and 3 springs, unless of course you have some transfer credits, then we'll try to get that sped up for you if that's what you want. Not everyone does. So you'll take 2 10-week courses at a time. And those 10-week courses are going to be completed online. The 4 to 6 p.m. time that you said that you heard, that is going to be those synchronous meetings. So you have 1 to 2 meetings via Zoom within an interactive online environment, which is exactly what we're doing on here. So we use Zoom for those meetings, and that's at the beginning of your course and at the end of your course. And during those meetings, what we're doing is we're getting to know you. Then you're going to be able to put a face with the name. We're going to be able to go over the course, show you the Blackboard course, what you're going to be doing week by week throughout those 10 weeks. And you're also going to see the syllabus, be able to ask questions in real time, and allow for us to answer those things for you. So those are the meetings, and those meetings will take place on the same day. So if you're in 2 courses, then you're always going to be meeting. Those 2 courses are going to meet on the same day, and one will be from 4 to 6 p.m. and then the other one will be from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time. So during those meetings, the week 1 meeting at the beginning of the course, typically, we're not really asking a lot from students during that meeting. You're really just coming, you're showing up. It's kind of similar to what we're doing here. We're really the deliverer of the information during the week 1 meeting, because we're showing you what you're about to get into in this course and navigating throughout Blackboard, showing you what it is that you're seeing and trying to put things together so that you can then plan out your next 10 weeks. During the final course meeting, that one is typically a little bit more student driven, and that's where you get the chance to practice what you just learned. So in the course, just as an example, if you're in the MSN administration program, you're going to learn about human resources. So at the end of the human resource course, as an example, you may do a presentation on different types of leadership styles and how you might approach those leadership styles as you are onboarding or you are professionally developing your nursing staff and or your unlicensed assistive personnel staff. So that final meeting during the 10 weeks, again, is a little bit more student driven. And that's because hopefully you're then going to show us what you've learned. And a lot of the time it is going to be a poster presentation or a PowerPoint presentation of some sort during that meeting. And you'll do it just right via Zoom, just like we are now. I think, do you feel like that answers your questions? Perfect. Jason, so for the ID badge at the Mount, we will give you that information during the orientation. So we'll be able to give you some of those logistics at that time in August. So Meryl asked for the practicum hours that are associated with several of the courses, do we need to anticipate finding preceptors for those courses? I think that's a great question. So when you think of an advanced practice nurse practitioner program, I know that at least Jason, you've been through your NP. I'm not sure with the rest of our folks on tonight if you also have an advanced practice degree, but if you do, then you know that you had very prescriptive hours, and that is going to be that you have to be side by side with your preceptor for a prescribed number of hours for your pediatric rotation or your acute care rotation, something along those lines. And so these are non-clinical advanced practice. They're still considered advanced practice, but not advanced practice registered nurse where you have to get a certification afterwards. You can certainly sit for certification and you'll be prepared to do so. For the MSN administration, I would say that our program most closely aligns with the AONL nurse executive or the CNML, so the certified nurse manager leader. For the educator program, our program most closely aligns with the certified nurse educator through NLN. So in that regard, because they are non-clinically based, most of our students really get their practicum hours at their place of work. So you get creative. If I can give an example to hopefully help shed a little light on what this looks like, I typically teach an informatics course. So in that informatics course, you're going to do most of your practicum hours actually online. So you're going to get into the Blackboard course and you're going to do things like doing some Excel tutorials, just some of the basics of Excel, learning how to insert data, analyze data, things along those lines. And then you're going to apply some of what you've learned into a quality improvement project. So that quality improvement project in that particular course can be something as small as, how about increasing, I sometimes just come up with things off the fly, but increasing the hand washing compliance. So we'll go with something pretty simple. So in that regard, you may look at some data surrounding hand washing, and you may want to increase the amount of compliance that you're seeing just with sheer observation. In that example, you're typically going to be able to complete your practicum hours sometimes at your place of work while you're working. What we want to see in practicum hours is that it essentially can't be business as usual, is usually the way I put it. So, if you're working already as a nurse manager and you just don't have your master's yet, but you're already working as a nurse manager, then what is it you're going to do in that nurse manager role to integrate what it is that you're learning in the classroom into that role that you already have? Or let's say that, you're working as a charge nurse, but you would like to move up in management, then that means that you're likely going to have to start tapping into some of your resources at your place of work and perhaps doing some hours with your manager or a manager of another department. So we can certainly help make some of those connections for you. That's absolutely fine, but it's very different than when you are seeking practicum hours or clinical placements for a nurse practitioner program or a CRNA, something along those lines. So it's really a lot more about self-accountability and you looking at, while you're in this informatics course that I gave as an example, to determine, what are your strengths and what are your areas of improvement to be able to get to the outcomes of the course. And that's going to look a lot different for each person. So some people might be diving into some kind of hefty quality improvement project with their practicum hours because they already do it. They're a nurse manager. And maybe there's someone else who isn't working as a nurse manager. So they're going to do a much smaller scale quality improvement project in that course. So I hope that helps. Meryl asked if the courses, so you're speaking of the DNP program, so do the courses and the projects in each course lead up to 820? So we have 3 DNP project courses, 823, 824, and 832. So do they build on each other, contribute to the final project? And the answer to that would be yes, as long as you kind of choose for it to. So that means that when I often encourage students to do that. So when they're in my informatics course and they're talking about, this quality improvement project, they can absolutely start working on some of the work that they're going to have to do anyway for their DNP project or even their MSN project, because that's one of the courses that both the MSN and the DNP students take. So I do encourage them to think about, what are your ideas for your MSN project? What are your ideas for your DNP project? Okay, now let's take those ideas and embed them into this course if possible. Not everyone's ready to make that leap yet when they're in the informatics course, as an example, but some of them are. So yes, you can absolutely do that. And we encourage you to do that. And those DNP project courses that have that in the title of the course, that's when we really commit to what is your DNP project going to be about. And those do build upon one another and you stick with the same project over all 3 of those semesters. So the DNP project itself lasts for 3 semesters or essentially like about 1 calendar year. It's probably more, closer to about 8 to 9 months. For the MSN project, you do that in your final semester. So most students complete their MSN project in about 7 weeks. And then in the last 3 weeks of that 10-week course, they're just writing the paper about how the project went. Meryl said that she would recommend doing it for the MSN too. I didn't know that at the time, and it would have been easier if I had. Yes, I absolutely agree. So when you go back to school, if the program isn't, explicit in telling you that, then you start to gather articles related to all these things that you're interested in. And I think it's human nature, or maybe it's nurse nature, that it wants us to, save the world, right? So then we start gathering all these articles about all these different topics. And then by the time we get to our project, we're like, man, if I would have been gathering articles on this one topic, and for the last 2 years, I'd already have all my articles, ready to go, and I'd be able to do my project. So you're absolutely right, Meryl, about that.
I was just going to add that an admission, we ask you to write the essay, and we do read your essays. And, we want to kind of start that kind of thinking about what topic or topics. Sometimes we can't narrow it down. I did that for myself too. There's so many different things that I wanted to do, but I think that's kind of a start there. And depending on when you get admitted to the program, we are even thinking of pairing you up with a faculty member at the get-go. That way you can kind of start those conversations with that faculty and potentially start to develop the topic for your project. So I think that's nice. And, absolutely, that would be helpful if you start gathering along the way and starting to firm things up and, just developing it, making it the work easier towards the end there.
Yvonne, I don't know if you would mind putting in the chat, but I'm wondering if maybe you were referring to our 15-month Magellan program. Are you already a licensed nurse by chance? And it's completely fine if you're not. We're going to get you to the right place if for any reason you're not. Yeah. Okay. So with you being an LPN, so the right program for you would likely be, we have had multiple LPNs. So it depends on what degree you have with your LPN. If you have an associate's, how much you would need left to get the bachelor's if you don't have a bachelor's yet. And this doesn't have to be a bachelor's in nursing. Okay, that's perfect. So you have your bachelor's in science and you're an LPN. So for you, you would want to look at our MSN Magellan program, and Eric Balmer is our graduate admissions counselor for that program. So with this, you would be able to get your RN with your MSN within 15 months. So that is a bit of a different program. So but we'll get you, to the right place and get everything explained to you for that program. So Libby has a question for you, Eric, about the Magellan program as well. No problem. We're going to get you in the right place. That's okay. We still welcome you, Libby and Yvonne. You come see us when you're done with Magellan and get your DNP. So you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a little confusing with the wording MSN Magellan and our regular MSN.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here to help and no issue at all. I'm still the person you need to talk to. So, or one of the persons, one of the people. I promise I can talk. It's getting late.
All right. Dr. Deza, you want to wrap us up?
Thank you again for coming to meet with us tonight. Reach out anytime to any of us if you have questions along the way, and I would be glad to talk with you over the phone, via Zoom, or whatever is good for you. Again, thank you, and stay well and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.